At a World Championships, riders compete both as individuals and as part of a team. When walking the course, the younger British competitors were able to plan their approach to each fence with a more experienced rider like Ian Stark.
Yeah, but I think, you know, if you can keep by the red flag on the right coming into the first part, then you're going to be over this parallel and landed and thinking about turning before you've actually got set up to jump the middle.
Yeah, and
two
you have
parallels.
actually got about 3 strides before you turn.
Well, you'll actually pull up quite easily because they'll just prop a little bit and you can set up and hold them and angle this.
Yeah.
You just have to watch that after you've jumped this, you don't turn too quickly, especially if there's been any rain, because you could just slip on the turn and you might just not be outside the penalty zone.
Jump down the side if you lose. Go down on the side. Yeah, I'm a competitor. That's okay. No worries.
I personally have to walk it 4 times, otherwise I'm not happy. When you set off through the box, the starting box, you have to be absolutely 100% certain where you're going and be totally committed.
I normally walk the course 4 times, study each fence in great detail, study all the alternatives, the striding, the approaches. Hopefully at the end of the 3rd walk, you've pretty well made up your mind how you're going to ride the course, where you're going to jump each fence, and you virtually walk it as you would ride it.
Well, it was cheap anyway.
At this stage, the cross-country course is still an unknown quantity, and course designer Neil Ayers attempts to explain it to the press.
Now the short route we'll talk about first. The short route is the right-hand route. They jump over 9A. It's 1 stride to where the baby carriage is, into the water, and then in the water a bounce to element C. And the bounce is set at 13 feet at one end and 18 feet at the other. So the rider has the choice of taking anything from a 13 to an 18-foot bounce. That way they can't tell me that I put the wrong distance in. I can just tell them they didn't ride it in the right place, you see?
Strides. Perfect. Perfect.
The water jump is already causing concern, though the riders may joke about it.
No. Yeah.
I suppose the water always frightens everyone, doesn't it? No one wants to go for a swim particularly. Yeah, it's a sport, you know, we take it seriously, but, everyone has to have their fun. If we were too intense walking the course, we'd probably all get too uptight about the whole thing. But, I mean, we take it seriously, there's no doubt about it.
The rain on the 2nd day is yet another distraction in an already intimidating arena.
From Great Britain, Virginia Ling and Priceless. She broke an arm at 77 in 23 places and seriously enough to consider amputation. Mark Todd and Woolrest Charisma. Not a particularly big horse, as you can see, but one who doesn't accentuate its riders 6 feet 4 inches. Mark proved his mount by winning 5 major competitions in New Zealand before selling most of his cattle and basing himself and Charisma in England. Torrance, Flashman and Finvara. As a child, Torrance hunted and showed ponies. After finishing her studies in the University of Denver, she became a fashion model, then a fragrance consultant in New York.
Finvara's performance brings her into the lead after the dressage.
I've been asked whether I find being small a disadvantage, since I have to carry lead in any of the major competitions. I don't consider myself small, first of all. I gain a pound, I think I'm enormous. I work with horses, and when they get too big, then I realize I'm quite small. And then I try to find another way to deal with them without using brute strength. And there's no way any human being can use brute strength on the horse. I don't care how big you are. There is an opinion that courses are getting very tough. I walked badminton last year 6 times, and I tried to find a way to get over the fences without being really ill. And I truly thought that Frank Weldon was absolutely out of his mind. There was so much fear involved that I rode like the hounds of hell were after me. But I will always ride a Weldon course knowing that it's been done, even though it looks absolutely impossible, knowing that it's been done the fairest way possible. There are some other courses that I do not have that confidence in.
Well, I think the weather will make a tremendous difference. If the sun comes out and dries things off, you'll see a lot more horses finishing the course. If it rains, there'll be horses slipping and sliding. There are bound to be. The galloping surface is clay, a lot of it. When it rains, is just plain greasy. I used to compete, but then I broke my neck, and I'm all wired together. That's why I moved this way a bit. And when I was no longer able to compete, I became interested in course design and the course design end of the sport.
The first riders are already on the cross-country course, while Leng and then Todd start the steeplechase.
Charisma is just a really nice character. He knows he's a star. He knows he's number one in the yard. He's not at all nasty. There's not a nasty bone in his body.
After 3,000 meters at full gallop, Phase C, the roads and tracks, demands a steady trot to an exact timing. At the end of Phase C is the start and finish line of the cross-country course. A 10-minute rest and another vet inspection to check that the horse can take the rigours of the ride ahead. This is the last chance for riders to compare notes, learn how the course is riding, and make their choices between quick routes and the slower, safer options available at most of the obstacles. One fence which is claiming victims whichever route they ride is the water.